All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of On Screen with Dee Harris. We're finally back. New Zoom format. Going to be like this for the foreseeable future. But I got, to me, because this is one of my guys I met a while ago. It's wrestling royalty to me because this is my guy right here, CJ Bear, a.k.a. CJ Shine. How you doing, man?
It's going good, man. I miss you, man. I miss you.
Yeah, man. He and I kick it at Lexington Comic Con, and we didn't get a chance to leak up the last time. Then this year was canceled. So, but yeah, man, CJ's a professional wrestler, pretty darn good one at that. Very charismatic, great young gentleman I met. Always stand up guy. So we're just gonna get right into it, man. Growing up, I mean, as a wrestling fan, how did wrestling grab you? What really got you into it as a kid?
You know, it it's the same story. It never changes. So like whenever I was 6 years old, um, my little sister got me into it because I wasn't a big fan of wrestling. I was just like everyone else. I was like, oh, it's fake. I don't want to. I don't want to watch that. And then I saw Stone Cold fill up Vince McMahon's car.
Oh yeah, the Corvette with the cement.
Yep, that one.
Oh man.
And then The Rock, I can't remember, but The Rock got me into wrestling. So that scene. But what made me want to be a wrestler is I got to see The Rock and the Nation of Domination. Whenever he made the whole speech, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a me thing.
Yeah, that was around the same time. I remember when The Rock was doing that. He was really being a thorn in the side of Farouk. Oh
Yeah.
man, he wanted to kill him.
But yeah, that's what really got me into wanting to be a wrestler, and I just never got rid of that dream.
Now, I mean, I didn't pursue professional wrestling as as a passion, but I've always been a fan. I'm still a big fan. Clearly,
Hmm.
I mean, I got my championship belt right here
There
for
you
our
go.
future match at WrestleMania 38.
Sorry about
The
my background. I
I
just
mean,
noticed I had dinosaurs.
I dig it, man. I dig it. But yeah, man. Like in high school, for me, well, middle school going into high school, all my friends and people I was cool with at the time were starting like age out of wrestling a little bit. So
Yeah.
at that time, it was cool. Then it wasn't cool anymore, and I was the one like still, watching it regularly,
Hmm.
faithfully, never missing a Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, whatever was on. Especially like during that time, like remember early on we still had WCW, so they had moved Nitro to Tuesday, so we had Raw Monday, Nitro Tuesday. Thunder was also moved to Wednesday. Then we had SmackDown Thursday. ECW was on Friday, and then we had the pay-per-views and the weekend shows too. So like I was in heaven at the time. I mean, now if you look at today, it's a little bit of wrestling overload with everything WWE and everything else going on. But during that time where it wasn't cool anymore, how was it for you, like staying a fan during that time where everyone was like, "Oh, it's so lame now," and why you still watch that? How did you deal with that?
Well, I mean, that was kind of like Mondays were definitely my getaway days, because all the stress with school whenever you're little. Now I think of it, I'm like, that was nothing. But that was just my getaway thing. I was always the kid that got made fun of in school. So, um, that was my pride and joy.
Totally feel you on that. Well, we're going to get into some of the meat and potatoes now, because
Ah,
as I stated earlier, he's a professional wrestler, guys. Watch out. I always say to you all the time, I can't wait to see you on NXT one day. But how did you, get into professional wrestling? What made you look at this as a avenue that you wanted to pursue?
um, it was I just felt it. It's something. I didn't believe it when I heard the documentaries of the wrestlers like, oh, it's in my blood. It's in, I always have to do it. Um, but I tried sports. I tried to be on the wrestling team. I tried a football team. I tried a cross country team. And I just didn't like them. I didn't want to be in them. It wasn't entertaining me, and it wasn't. I wasn't just feeling it. And then um, I just told myself, I was like, man, I need I need to be a wrestler. That's what I want to do. I want to do professional wrestling. And it was crazy because people were like, "Oh, you're not athletic. You don't stay with these sports in school." I mean, I was getting all sorts of negativity from it, but I just kept telling myself that you're gonna do it. And then whenever I was 16, um, I saw a couple of indie wrestling matches, which I had no idea existed. I had no clue. And it was funny. I was like, man, I need to be here. I need this. And that was my first time, which now I'm about to get off, or not off subject, but it's still on subject. But I got to see these two guys named the Professionals, and they were a tag team, and I was like, "Oh man, this is cool. This is real cool." And I couldn't find a wrestling school or anything, and then this is whenever I'm 16. So fast forward to where I was working at a gym, I saw these two familiar faces come in, and I'm a front desk person. I'm no one at this gym. I'm like, "Hey, aren't you two the professionals? Aren't you wrestlers?" And they just so looked at each other and they're like, "How'd you know that?" I was like, "Oh, I saw you like 5, 6 years ago." And I asked them about like where to go to school at, or where's the wrestling school, and they actually, I can't remember who they were trained by, but they told me there was a school out in St. Louis, because I'm on the Illinois side. That they're like, there's a school out in St. Louis called Dynamo Pro Wrestling, and they're having a show, and you should meet the promoter there, and he'll give you all the details. And that's whenever I met the promoter there, Jim, um, and he basically was like, if you really want to do this, here's the address to the school. We'll put you through a couple of things, and if you still want to do it, it's just $100 a month, and we'll make you into a wrestler. And I popped in there.
For those who aren't quite familiar with the process of professional training to be a professional wrestler and what all of that entails, can you explain that process for those who might not have a grasp of how to even get started with pursuing this craft?
Um, it's easier now than it was whenever um, I was 20 or 21, because I started at 24. Um, and that was whenever it was just starting to become easier. So, I mean, really, all you have to do is find a school, but that's the easy part. The hard part is landing on the mat, um, and taking hits on the ground, what we call bumps, um, and that mat is just unforgiving because it's not it's not like a thick cushion. It's just a little smaller, and then underneath that cushion is uh freaking just big giant things of wood, like 4x4s and all this other stuff. There's a lot of mechanics that go into that ring, and I didn't realize that there was a certain way that you had to land in order to protect yourself, to protect the person that you're in the ring with. What needs to be done before your match even starts? It, it's it's harder than what it looks, and like, but once you get into it, like once you get like 3 or 4 months into it and you start getting it, um, it's like you can't get enough. It's like you want to be in that ring, and everything that you do in that ring, or everything you do outside of that ring, it's just like you're thinking about going back in. You want to be, you just want to feel the energy, and even without crowds, you just feel that wrestling energy. It's crazy.
How long did you train before you actually got in the ring for your first match?
Um, for me, it was it was 4 months of training, and then whenever I was about to start my fifth month, um, um, our promoter Jim, he comes up to me in training, and he was like, "Hey CJ," I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "You're facing Jake Durden for the heavyweight title." What? He was like, "Yeah, make sure you have your gear, dude." That was 4 days before the event.
Wow.
I had no gear. I was like, "Yeah, I got gear." I went to Walmart like everyone else. First wrestling match, got my gear. But it's different for everyone because I know I'm pointing out all these names and everything else, but whenever you start looking them up, or if anyone else looks them up, they're gonna be like, "Oh crap!" And you guys are gonna just go in a tunnel of wrestling, and you're gonna see stuff that you didn't even know existed. But training is different for everyone. I told Jim, I was like, I asked him the same thing you just asked me, and he was like, sometimes people get it within 6 months, sometimes it takes them a little longer. And I was like, if I don't get it in 6 months, I will say that I don't need to be a wrestler. I don't need to be in the business. I say that for a reason. um, and he was like, "Oh, that's fine. I think it'll be fine." And literally on my fourth month, he told me. Starting on my fifth month, I wrestle, and once we get on my first time wrestling, I'll tell you that story
Oh,
too.
that's the next question I'm going to ask. I
Yeah.
need to know once you were out there, entrances are done and everything. I, what was the experience like? Performing in front of a live crowd that first time.
Well, sorry. let, let me go before the entrance because this is very important. All right.
Uh-oh. Okay.
It's very important because Jim told me that it takes like maybe 6 months to a year, and I'm on my fourth to fifth month, and I'm wrestling. My first wrestling match is for the Dynamo Pro heavyweight title, and on the main event. Yeah. So everyone's going out. Everyone's going out. I'm in my little Walmart gear, and our time comes in, and normally it's the baby face. So I would be the baby face. If no one knows what babyface is, that's a good guy. Heel's a bad guy. Um, but normally the babyface goes out first in independent wrestling, and then the heel goes out. This time, the heel went out, and he was talking all this crap. I'm sweating bullets. I'm nervous, and in my head, uh, I was like, oh crap, what I get myself into? And that old kid, like, oh man, you know, you always quit. You're not athletic. All those negative thoughts, it stays with you. Remember, I was 6 whenever people were telling me this. And sure enough, I look behind me. There's the exit, my gym bag with all my stuff, and my car keys are by the door. I was about to bolt. Boom. I was about to bolt. I was like, they're not gonna remember me. They're not gonna remember me. And then as soon as I was about to take that move, my entrance music came on. And I was like, too late to go now. And once my cue hit, I went out there and I just like I didn't even think about that anymore. The nerves were just gone and I just was excited about the whole entire thing. And yeah, like the first time going out there, you're on cloud 9. It feels like you're sitting on clouds and you don't want it to stop. And normally it was probably about a 5 maybe 6 minutes and like for my entrance and the match and all that other stuff, but it felt like 30 minutes and I loved it.
Obviously, since then you've kept improving. I mean,
Hmm.
I've seen some of your Instagram clips. Dude, you're pretty dope. I saw you do some kind of springboard front drop kick. That's something me and my cousin used to do when we were kids, but we were laying on couches and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty darn impressive. But as you kept improving, I mean, we all grew up watching certain guys in the ring who just jumped out at us. So are there any performers that you saw growing up or even that you might have met on the indies that you take stuff from and use those little bits and pieces that you've taken from them and applied to your own in-ring work?
um yes and no. So I watch wrestling and I study wrestling now, and you know, back with the whole Lexington Comic Con, whenever we got to see Dr. Pritchard, remember that?
Yes. Yeah,
Him,
man.
he
Yeah.
did.
He gave us so much game that day.
Oh
It,
yeah, but if you remember, he didn't have a line, and me and you went up there. He talked to us for 2 hours about wrestling.
yes, he did.
And I took that and I kept it with me. And there was a couple things that he told me is like, you know, study wrestlers, study their moves, and then come up with your own thing. So yes, to a degree, I use certain things that I've seen, but I use them in my own way and my own tactics, and they're not always the same. I use them in in different wrestling matches. So if I'm wrestling against a bigger guy, I'll I'll use them in a different way or a different strategy. If I'm facing like a high flyer, same thing, different way. Um, and it's always changing.
As it continues to change, obviously that means you're evolving. So as your character evolves, explain how the CJ Shine character came about. Explain that character in its entire origin. And in that process, he explained to us how important it is for a wrestler to be proficient in speaking on the microphone as well.
Oh man, that the microphone thing is still something I haven't even mastered. That is that's something you have to look in the mirror and practice. To be honest with you, like um, I have a friend. He's a St. Louis indie wrestler. Um, it his name is you know what? You'll find him better as Warhorse.
Oh
WAR.
man, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hip to Warhorse, man. He was
Ye-
actually on Dynamite a few weeks ago.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Oh yeah. Um Oh man, I was about to go on a tangent again. What was? Oh
Well,
yeah,
I was just, yeah, it's more about how, the development of your CJ Shine character and its origins.
yeah. So the whole develop. But anyway, watch his stuff for promos. If anyone's watching, he's great. But how my development happened was, I didn't quite know who I was in wrestling. There was always, I went by, my last name, my real last name, and no one was really sticking to it. It was kind of like, oh, he's another wrestler. That's fine. And I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And the best character in wrestling is being yourself. So I was like, well, I have ADD. So here we go.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
right. So I forget a lot. I forget a lot of stuff. So what I did was I implemented it in my wrestling to throw people off. And I was like, "Oh, I lost my contact while they're throwing a punch." And I look up and I look at the audience, and I just try to be funny to get them, get the my dog's going crazy, um, to get the audience into it, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's your job, is let make the audience forget about their daily life. So I try to get them hyped up because there's a lot of bad guys and good guys, but there's not a CJ Shine, and that's so my development is just being me, but crank it up to 10.
All the way up to 10, man.